We are fantastic. Now, something important is happening tomorrow. The swearing-in ceremony of President-elect Hakainde Hichilema is going to be taking place. Could you tell us more about this auspicious event?
Wow, it has finally come to reality after spending 15 years heading the opposition United Party for National Development. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is finally to be sworn in tomorrow as Zambia's 7th president. Like I did indicate last week, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema took over the leadership of his first time to contest the elections was in 2006. And he failed. So in between, he has tried by all means, and it is just tomorrow that he will be going to be sworn in. So this event will be held at the National Heroes Stadium here in Lusaka, and the seating capacity of the stadium is about 60,000 people can fill in. So what has happened is the government has issued some invitations to all members of the public to come and be part of the event. But what has again happened is that because of the health guidelines, this event, there's a little bit of some restriction of how many people will be coming in. So we are likely to see not everybody getting into the stadium. Others will have to follow the proceedings from outside the stadium. Then in terms of people, foreign dignitaries coming to officiate, Malawi will be coming through President Chakwera, and the United States has also President Joe Biden has also sent in a delegation, and within the Southern African region, a number of representatives of heads of states will be present to witness the inauguration of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema as Zambia's 7th president. Then also the party itself, the UPND, has sent out it's almost from all the provinces. They are bringing in about 200 to 150 people from all the provinces to witness this event, which according to them is something that they didn't expect to happen this time. But despite what they went through and the like, so it's going to be a big event for Mr. Hakainde Hichilema and the alliance partners of the UPND, because from this event, after his sworn in, because the event will start around 11 o'clock in the morning. After his sworn in, Mr. Hichilema is expected to unveil his cabinet, because once that happens, he now has to begin to run the nation, and he needs to have a cabinet. So we are likely to see him unveiling his cabinet probably late in the day, and also see how he's going to ensure that everything begins to run as he had promised, because he's coming to power is premised on improving the economy, restructuring the country's debt, also revamping the agriculture sector, as well as...
Mike, so sorry about that. We've got a couple of things we want to cover. We definitely know you're going to tell us much more about this auspicious occasion tomorrow. We're just going to go straight into your next story, if that's okay.
All right, now the pardoning of 60 prisoners, among them murder convicts, has caused a social media frenzy. Please tell us more about that.
Yes, you know, President Lungu, the outgoing president, he did this barely days before he leaves office. But the problem which most people are talking about is the pardoning of murder convicts. There are a number of murder convicts who've been pardoned, and because people are thinking maybe the president has done so because he is leaving office. But according to the Law Association of Zambia, they defended his action, saying whenever a president pardons prisoners, it is done on recommendations from prison authorities. So in the picture there, on your left, that is Matthew Mohan, Then on your right, that is Mr. Keith Mukata, who is a lawyer by profession. Mr. Mohan on your left was actually convicted in 2009 for the murder of a business competitor in 2009. Then in 2016, Mr. Keith Mukata, a lawyer, was also convicted for the murder of his bodyguard. So these are some of the people that were pardoned. Amongst others, there are also two for him, like him in the picture there, that is Mr. Cornelius Mulenga, who is a photographer for the incoming president, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. He was convicted because of defilement. But days before President Lungu leaves, he has pardoned him. So all this has raised a number of dust among people.
Indeed, those are some interesting outgoing decisions from President Edgar Lungu. Now, I'm just going to put your last stories, just kind of bunch them up a little bit so we can get some brief answers from you. Tell us about the Patriotic Front, which is obviously now the opposition party, and its rebranding and rebuilding process for 2026. And then after that, just tell us briefly about the Zambia national team in Morocco preparing for its match against Mauritania.
Yes, the PF, which is now the official opposition political party, they held their central committee meeting, which they are calling to rebuild and to rebrand. So the idea is the man in the picture is former Justice Minister, who's now been appointed as the official information and publicity chairman for the party. So he's been tasked to create an image, to create a positive image for the party in terms of what he says to the public. And all the other people that fall under him, they have to get permission from him to see what they speak is something that is going to benefit the nation and not to hurt the nation. Because what did happen in the past few weeks, there was a lot of talk that actually contributed to the fall of the PF, because the talk was not censored. It was aimed at creating division in the country, which a number of people did not approve of in Zambia. Hence, the PF was voted out.
All right.
Then, in sports, the Zambia national team is actually in camp in Morocco for a 10 days camp in Morocco ahead of their match against Mauritania on 3rd of September. So the team is there to prepare to acclimatize with the environment and see if they can pull out a positive result in Mauritania on the 3rd of September. 4 days after that match, Zambia is going to host Tunisia in Ndola in the Group F match, where they are fighting for a position at the World Cup in Qatar. So this is what is happening football-wise. The local coach is trying to see if he can be able to qualify the team to Qatar in 2022.
All right. Thank you very much, Mike, for bringing us that packed package from Zambia. We certainly look forward to seeing you later in the week.
Thank you very much, Africa. Good morning. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Mike. Mike is glowing. I don't know if it's because he's going to have a new president tomorrow.
Because of the party tomorrow, maybe.
Could be that. You know, I was just thinking earlier, I said Irene Kiwia is from Kenya and Uganda. Actually, she's from Tanzania, and the company is from Kenya. Now, Twa, her company means to take. And I was just thinking about this because today, it's not guaranteed that we're going to have sunlight. But you might as well Twa your own sunlight and move along with it into the day. But first, check out the weather forecast.
left to the top. I will ride for you, baby, even die for you. When I'm loving you, but my heart don't stop.
Welcome back to Africa. Good morning as we continue to bring you the news from the SADC region and beyond. Next up, it's time for us to get into your economic news stories for the day. And we start off in Namibia. Emergency plan to supply water to 1 million people. The Namibian government is launching an emergency program in the context of water stress. The Namibia Water Sector Support Program aims to improve the quality, safety and sustainability of water supply and sanitation services for at least 1 million people. The objective of the NWSSP is to improve the quality, safety and sustainability of water supply and sanitation services. In June 2021, the Namibian government made loan agreements with the African Development Group and its subsidiary, the African Development Fund. According to Minister Klaus Latwein, Kreditanstalt für Wiederaufbau, the German development agency, has already provided about 870 million Namibian dollars, while the Namibian government will contribute 2.3 billion Namibian dollars to the funding of the Namibian Water Sector Support Program. It is expected to be implemented over 7 years.
In our next story, the coal price has skyrocketed in 2021. It is only a few days since the latest report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change signaled the dire consequences of human-induced climate change. At the heart of this stark warning by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and the scientists behind the report was the urgent need to heavily reduce coal in the energy mix. Yet in the run-up to publication and absent from mainstream news headline was a steady ascent in coal prices past $100 per metric ton in June and then past $130 in mid-July, over $170 today. This is almost 4 times the price last September.
Now in South Africa, Massmart sells most food assets to ShopRite for 1.35 billion rand. Massmart is selling its non-core food assets to rival ShopRite Holdings for 1.35 billion rand to focus on businesses with high returns, the South African retailer controlled by Walmart said on Friday. Massmart is in the middle of a turnaround that has now moved beyond shutting underperforming stores and replacing fresh and frozen food in its game chain with clothing. After the deal, it will mostly sell fresh food through its wholesale macro chain. It said proceeds from the deal would be used to pay down drawn bank facilities and for investments in e-commerce and also in general merchandise, do-it-yourself and wholesale food and liquor, Massmart's core businesses. The transaction, consisting of 71 food stores, 43 liquor shops and a meat processing facility, is expected to close early in the first quarter of 2022.
In our next story, how Africa can seize the moment and start resetting its relationship with the IMF. The International Monetary Fund will inject 650 billion in special drawing rights into the global economy. It will allocate them among its member states, which can then decide for themselves how they want to use their special drawing rights. This injection which will take place on the 23rd of August 2021, is more than double the total number of special drawing rights the IMF has ever issued and is equal about 5% of total global reserves. African countries will receive 33.6 billion, with the lion's share going to 5 largest economies of the continent: South Africa, Nigeria, Algeria, Morocco, and Egypt. The IMF and many countries recognize that this division of new resources is both inequitable and inefficient. They are talking of creating a mechanism of reallocating some of the funds, an amount of 100 billion, as mentioned, to developing countries.
Now, in the last of our economic news stories, how much time the average South African spends working and how much it's increased during lockdown. South Africa's workforce is facing a mental health crisis as employees work longer and harder due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown, says Brenda Didi Klovane, Chief Risk Officer at Momentum Multiply. Didi Klovane cited data from The Economist, which shows that South Africans worked just over 6.5 hours a day leading up to the pandemic. However, since moving to work from home, this number has increased by an additional 38 minutes to over 7 hours a day. Because we can work from anywhere, we land up working anytime, she said. On the face of it, it doesn't sound that bad. What's an extra 38 minutes a day? But over a working week, that's an additional 3 hours. And over the course of a month, we're talking about an extra 12 hours, a full working day and a half. Didi Klovane said that the pandemic has blurred the previously well-defined lines between work and home. In the weeks following the announcement of the national hard lockdown in March 2020, Lifeline South Africa recorded over 4,000 calls a day. They usually receive this many calls over the course of a week. Meanwhile, calls to the South African Depression and Anxiety Group more than doubled. Wow, that's intense. Please do make sure you take care of your mental health, guys. Even Naomi Osaka is taking a break from work. This is 2 Africa. Good morning. Next up, economic indicators. Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. We have been streaming live from 7 a.m. Now, we had a jam-packed sporting weekend, and there's one person we can trust to decipher it all, Mr. Ari Hohad in South Africa. Good morning, Ari. How are you?
Yes, a very good morning. It's nice to talk sport this morning. Hopefully the results was positive and good. I think we don't talk too much football, Ashwin. I think we stay clear of that, maybe.
Not at least until I've made a booking with my therapist. I would prefer we don't. But do get into the news.
Yes, absolutely. We'll get to the English Premier League that we refer to. Firstly, some golf news. It was the British Open for ladies that took place. That was in Carnoustie in the United States. Always a big tournament of the year, and it was Anna Nordwich of Sweden came out winner there. A great win for it. It was tight in the end. It was the Madeline Sangstrom, also of Sweden, that came in second at 11 under par. Nordwich was on 12 under par, so a great win for Georgia Hall of England, also tied second on 11 under par. So a big major win there for Anna Nordwich of Sweden. And South African interests, Leanne Pace and Ashley Simon, Ashley Buhai, unfortunately they missed the cut, so they didn't make it to the last two rounds. And then the early leader on the first round was Nelly Korda of the USA. She also won the Olympic Games, but she fell back again. She finished on -6. Then on to some other golf news. It is in the men's PGA. It is a Northern Trust tournament that is currently being played in the USA. And there the scores are quite low. Cameron Smith of Australia that did really well. He made 60. He scored, that was 11 under par, a round of 60 that he scored in his third round. And he's the leader on 16 under par together with John Rahm of Spain on 16 under par. And that tournament, that is John Rahm, he's tied leader on 16 under par. So that last final round will be played today. There's, unfortunately, was a tropical storm that came through the United States on that part in the New York area, and tropical storm Henry. And the whole fourth round was postponed yesterday and is going to be played today. Southern African interest that is good for the final round is that Eric van Rooyen, who recently won his first PGA tournament, he is just one shot back. He's on 15 under par, and he also had a brilliant third round of 62. So he's really in contention. It's a massive FedEx tournament as well. High points on offer there. So it's great to see Eric van Rooyen doing well. Lastly, just in the men's European Tour, the Czech Masters was won by Johannes Veerman. He's from the USA. On to some rugby news. There was one rugby championship game that was played on Saturday, and that was South Africa that played Argentina in Gqeberha in the old Port Elizabeth in South Africa. And it was the Springboks that comfortably won 29-10. Maybe significant was that they didn't score extra try in the last few minutes for a bonus point, but still a good win for them. The tournament is organizers are not sure if the tournament's going to go on actually at the moment. So there was meetings yesterday and today. The big news from New Zealand was that they travelled to Australia to play their game this coming Saturday, and that was because of new strict regulations that was put into Perth. And New Zealand said they first want to see what is going to happen with all the regulations. So that game is not going to happen on this Saturday. But Australia, the CEO, Andy Marinoff, said that they rescheduled that for the 4th of September. So that game is going to be hopefully played, the All Blacks and on the 4th of September. But the CEO of Rugby Australia also had a little bit of a threat to the New Zealand counterparts. They said if they cannot play that game, they're going to send them the bill. They say it's going to cost them $3.5 million to set up that game. And if New Zealand don't pitch for that game, they're going to bill them for that cost. Now, let's go on to some football news. It is the English Premier League that we talked about earlier. Early start. It's the second week at the moment, and results from yesterday and from Saturday is that Liverpool, they played at home. They beat Burnley comfortably by 2-0. Then Manchester City, the defending champions, they on good form early on. They had a massive, big win against Norwich, also at home 5-0. And then for Manchester United, a big contender as well, they played away at Southampton, and the score there was 1-1. So Manchester United dropping points early in the tournament. Tottenham Hotspur, they had an away win against Wolverhampton. That was a great win, 1-0 for them. And then Arsenal also still struggled. They lost their first game of this, and they had to host Chelsea. Chelsea on form. Lukaku also scored, and the score there was 2-0 for Chelsea playing at Arsenal. And maybe transfer news quickly with Tottenham Hotspur winning against Wolverhampton. Harry Kane actually came on the field. He came on the 72nd minute as replacement, and he was on the field playing. And obviously, at the moment, it is a big news for Tottenham Hotspur. Harry Kane wants to go to Manchester City, reportedly. Big money that's been mentioned there, but he still has got to 3-year contract. The latest number that is mentioned by Manchester City or mentioned by Tottenham Hotspur is £150 million. That's massive. And they already bought a record signing in Jack Grealish just recently from Aston Villa for £100,000. So that will be quite astonishing if they prepared Manchester City to pay £150 million for Harry Kane. He's the England captain and one of the best strikers in the world, so he'll probably be a big benefit addition for them. Let's go on to some quickly. We're almost done. The tennis in the men's, it was a Cincinnati tournament, big ATP tournament. And in the final, it was Alexander Zverev of Germany and Andrei Rublev of Russia. Rublev did really great to get into the final. He beat the number 1 seed Medvedev in 3 sets. They couldn't pull it through in the final. It was Alexander Zverev of Germany that beat Andrei Rublev of Russia by 6-2, 6-3 to win the tournament. And in the women's section, it is Ashley Barty there in action. She's still on form. The world number 1, she beat Jill Teichmann of Switzerland in the final 6-3, 6-1. Teichmann was surprised to get into the final. Teichmann beat Karolina Pliskova, the number 5 seed, in the semi-final. And that is Medvedev, the number 1 seed, and also one of the leaders tennis players in the world, but he fell out. He lost to Andrei Rublev of Russia. And congratulations to Alexander Zverev of Germany, winning the Cincinnati Open. And let's close with some cycling news. We don't have cycling news related to BMX cycling. I think as children, we all had a BMX bike and we had our falls, but these guys are professionals. And it was the World Championships in the Netherlands that took place yesterday. In the women's section, the big news is that Bethany Schrijver of she won the women's, and it's big news because she also won the Olympic Games a few weeks ago. So a double for Bethany Schrijver of Great Britain for her. And second was Judy Brouw for the Netherlands. In the men's section, it was Nick Kimmins of the Netherlands. He was the winner in the men's section with Sylvain Andre of France taking the second place. And the young talent coming through in the juniors, it was Mane Patrudi of France that won. And in the men's section, it was Italy's Marco Rudelli that was too good for the rest of the competitors. So that is some BMX news. I don't know if we're all quite keen to take that bicycle again out of the storage and go and try some BMX moves, but maybe we'll leave it for the younger people. So that's the sporting news. I hope your sporting team did well. I don't know, Ashwin, if you did some BMX cycling in your younger days, but we had lots of injuries on this side. So anyway, have a sporting week. We'll talk again on Friday to preview all the sporting happenings of the weekend. And till then, have a great day.
Thank you very much, Ari, for bringing us the sports news. I might actually end up breaking that bike out of the garage. This is Still Africa. Good morning. After the break, we'll be bringing your headlines. Africa Good Morning has been streaming live from 7 a.m., bringing new news and current affairs from the SADC region and beyond. Now, if you perhaps missed our top stories at the top of the hour, or if you need a recap, worry not, here are some of the headlines. U.S. aid chief says emergency food in Ethiopia's Tigray to run out this week. Gunmen kidnap more than 75 people in northwest Nigeria. Chad to halve its troops fighting Sahel militant spokesperson says. Algeria's desperate wildfire fight, buckets and branches. Namibia, emergency plan to supply water to 1 million people. In golf, the ladies' British Open was played at Carnoustie in Scotland, and on the men's tour, it was a Northern Trust Open in the USA, and in Europe, the Czech Masters. Those have been our stories.
Thank you very much for joining us on the Monday edition of Africa Good Morning. We will be back again tomorrow, same time, same place. We do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can email them to us. Our email is agm_2centsworth@nmh.com.na. Alternatively, we are on Facebook and Twitter. We also have a website where you can check out all NMH's fantastic fantastic content rather. The website is called oneup2.com. And on that note, it's all our love and all our light.
Until tomorrow, Suraj Lakanaka.